I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because I can't keep it to myself anymore. Maybe because if I don't share what happened in that hospital, I'll go insane. The truth is, I worked night shifts in a hospital that felt alive. And I don't mean alive in the way buildings usually feel, with their buzzing lights and humming machines. No, this place breathed. I remember my first night vividly. The air smelled of bleach and something metallic, something that clung to the back of my throat, like blood left too long in a drain. The halls stretched on endlessly, their walls pale and sickly under the fluorescent lights. And yet, no matter how many times I walked those corridors, I always felt like someone, or something, was walking just a few steps behind me. At first, I chalked it up to nerves, new job, long hours, too much caffeine, but the feeling wouldn't go away. In fact, it only got worse. There was a particular hallway, north wing, second floor, that I dreaded. It was supposed to be unused, but every night, the lights there flickered, as if struggling against some unseen weight. Sometimes I'd hear the faint squeak of gurney wheels echoing down that empty hall. The problem was, there were no patients assigned to that wing. No staff either. It had been closed off years ago. I asked one of the older nurses about it once, trying to sound casual. Her face drained of color, and all she said was, "Don't go down there." Then she changed the subject. That was all it took for my curiosity to turn into dread. Still, things got stranger. On some nights, while checking patient rooms, I'd catch glimpses of movement in my peripheral vision. A shadow slipping past a doorway, a figure reflected in the glass that disappeared when I turned around. And the worst part, the patients seemed to notice it too. One woman in her 80s grabbed my wrist with a strength that shocked me. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, and she whispered, "He waits in the hall." I asked her who, but she just shook her head violently and refused to let go until another nurse pried her fingers off me. Another patient, a middle-aged man recovering from surgery, asked me one night if I had seen the tall one standing outside his room. I tried to laugh it off, but the seriousness in his voice made my skin crawl. The thing is, I had seen something. A silhouette, taller than any normal person, standing perfectly still at the end of the corridor. But when I blinked, it was gone. I wanted to quit right then, but I needed the job. Bills don't wait for nightmares. So I kept showing up, night after night, pretending I wasn't terrified, pretending I didn't hear the scratching sounds in the vents, or the low whispering that sometimes seemed to crawl out of the walls themselves. But deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time before whatever lived in that hospital revealed itself to me. And when it finally did, I almost didn't make it out alive. The first time I saw it clearly was around 3 in the morning. I was making my usual rounds, the halls unnervingly silent except for the faint hum of the fluorescent lights above. I had just passed by the nurse's station when I felt the air shift. It's hard to explain. It was as if the temperature dropped instantly, and the air grew heavier, harder to breathe. Then I heard it, a low, dragging sound, like bare feet scraping against the linoleum floor. Slow, deliberate. I froze, every instinct telling me to run, but my body wouldn't move. My eyes drifted down the hallway, the north wing, the one I was told never to enter, and there it was. At first, it looked like just another shadow in the flickering light. But shadows don't have eyes. Its eyes glowed faintly like pale lanterns in the dark. They locked onto me, unblinking, and I felt my chest tighten. Its figure was impossibly tall, thin, with limbs that seemed too long, like they had been stretched. Its mouth opened slowly, revealing jagged teeth that didn't look human at all. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Instead, I stumbled backward, and just like that, the lights blinked, and it was gone. For the rest of the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that it was still watching me, hiding just beyond the light, waiting for me to make the wrong move. The next night, things got worse. A patient's monitor began to flatline, and I rushed into his room, only to find him sitting upright, eyes wide in sheer terror. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring past me toward the door. "He's here," the man whispered. "He followed you." Before I could react, the overhead lights flickered violently, plunging the room into near darkness. In the brief flashes of light, I saw it again, standing in the corner, its twisted frame hunched, its claws dragging against the wall, as if carving invisible wounds into the plaster. The patient screamed, and I swear, for a split second, it smiled. When the lights came back fully, it was gone. The patient collapsed onto the bed, trembling, and begged me not to leave him alone. I stayed by his side until sunrise. He wouldn't close his eyes the entire night. From then on, the entity seemed to grow bolder. Doors that had been locked would be open when I returned. Wheelchairs moved on their own. Security footage showed empty hallways, but I could see a figure walking in them with my own eyes. I tried to tell my supervisor, but she just gave me a tired look and said, "Don't ask questions you don't want answered." That was when I realized I wasn't dealing with something random. It wasn't just haunting the hospital. It was haunting me. Because every night, no matter where I went, I could hear it, those dragging footsteps, the whisper that slithered into my ear when I was alone, "You don't belong here." And it was right, but it wasn't gonna let me leave. I should have quit. I should have walked out that very night and never looked back. But fear does strange things to people. It roots you in place, convinces you that running will only make things worse. My last shift started like any other. Midnight, silence. The halls stretched on forever, the smell of antiseptic thick in the air. I tried to keep my head down, focused on paperwork, anything to ignore the feeling that something was watching me. But around 2 a.m., the power cut out. The hospital was swallowed by darkness. Emergency lights flickered weakly, casting long, broken shadows across the walls. And then the sound began again, that dragging, deliberate scrape of bare feet across the linoleum. But this time, it wasn't far away. It was right behind me. I turned, and for the first time, there was no flicker, no trick of the light. It was there. Its skin was like burned leather stretched too thin across bone. Its eyes, those blinding white orbs, glowed so intensely that I had to shield mine. Its smile was jagged, endless, and dripping with something black that stained the floor as it stepped closer. The air grew heavy. I couldn't breathe. My chest heaved like something was pressing down on it, and then it spoke. Not with a voice that came from its mouth, but from everywhere at once, seeping through the walls, vibrating in my skull. "You see me now." I stumbled back, my legs barely holding me, but no matter which corridor I turned into, it was already there, waiting. Every hallway twisted, bent, stretched into impossible angles. The hospital no longer looked like a building. It was a maze, a trap, designed to keep me inside with it. Doors slammed shut on their own. My screams echoed, swallowed by the empty halls. I tried to reach the stairwell, but when I opened the door, it led me back to the north wing. Always back to the north wing. And at the end of that hallway, it waited. It began walking toward me, its movements slow, deliberate, like it enjoyed watching me panic. Its claws dragged along the walls, carving deep grooves that oozed darkness. I pressed myself against the wall, shaking, whispering prayers I hadn't said in years. When it finally reached me, it leaned down, its face inches from mine. The stench of rot and smoke burned my throat. "You are mine now," it whispered. And then, everything went black. I woke up hours later, slumped against the wall. The hospital lights were on. Staff walked past me like nothing had happened. No one asked why I was sitting on the floor, pale and trembling. But I knew. I quit that morning, handed in my badge, and swore never to step foot in that place again. The thing is, leaving didn't help. Because every night since then, when the house grows quiet and the lights go out, I hear it, the dragging of feet across the floor. And I know it's only a matter of time before it finally decides to stop waiting.
Subscribe to Horror Story Bar.